Hey guys, Luxqaer here. Today we're going to do yet another tier list. This time it is a much shorter tier list, because today we are ranking all of the KOS-MOS figures that were released over the past couple decades. But I'm not going to do this alone. I'm joined by a very well-known Xeno series figure collector, and his name is Watte. Please introduce yourself, Watte.
Hey everybody, I'm Watte TV. You guys also may know me as Wattapon because I VTube as a Nopon. And I, as of last year, Mr. Xeno Collector told me that I have surpassed him in the world's largest Xeno collection. So if there's anyone out there that's got more, I'd comment. I'd love to see it. But nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, you have a huge Xeno collection. It's just so impressive. And I collect figures myself and Xeno series merchandise, so I am really excited to just have this video with you to share your opinions on your KOS-MOS figures. And also, the pictures shown here in this tier list have been taken by Watte himself. I'd like to thank you so much for contributing your pictures to this tier list.
There are some in here we haven't taken though, but that's because I didn't want to... Everything here that's pictured is a duplicate, meaning like I have a sealed copy and an open copy, and I only took pictures of the open stuff, so the collection is actually larger than what is listed here. However, anything that's sealed, I keep sealed, so unless I get a dupe, like I buy a dupe, I don't have it open. So same thing on, like when I eventually put these on a gallery in my channel, it's not, only the dupes are gonna be there for now, so.
Wow, that's pretty impressive though. That you have both the open box figures and the duplicates that are also sealed. That is very impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, I have to do that because when you have them on display, there's a problem with the boxes as well, because when you keep older figures boxed, like some of the older KOS-MOSes or like the ES Xeno, for example, what happens is that figures actually get a film on the plastic because of the type of PVC plastic they used to use back then. So what happens is if you don't unbox them and get oxygen in the box, there's this film that forms on them. So there's a bit of a danger of keeping them in box. So because of that, I duped up on them, because apparently reading up on it, newer figures don't have as much of a problem, but because of the materials that were used back then and the quality of change in production of it, there tends to be issues with like preserving that. So like I had to unfortunately do that for the sake of like maybe this figure won't exist in the future if I don't do that. So all the sealed ones I keep, I wrap them literally with tissue paper and like store them so that they don't fade, the boxes don't fade, and I put them in like a closet so that way they're like darkened in there, but there's like shelving in there. So like I have like this whole weird, it's a process, but I mean
no, I am genuinely so impressed with your figure collecting shenanigans, Watte.
It's pretty bad with the games too, the same way with the games and the books and everything. It's literally like I have to dupe on everything. So like even with the games I have all sealed from the time they were launched and stuff. I think the only game I don't have is like the greatest hits Xenosaga one. I don't know why I never picked it up, but
probably because you have the original game. Too many of them, I have to say.
Yeah, so I'm gonna probably go back. But I mean, it's just in general with preservation, like my goal was always to make sure that there was like a sealed one for the future, and then like just like I obviously have to use them like for footage or anything else I need. So
all right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. So our first figure is the Namco Cross Capcom KOS-MOS V1 figure. I actually don't know if it's the secret version or the regular version. I was looking on MyFigureCollection on this figure, and I couldn't really tell the difference. And I feel like it's just going to be a theme with a lot of these figures, is that you can't even tell the difference between some of these. You have to really look at a few of them to know if they're a secret figure or just a regular figure. And I believe this one is just a secret figure, right? Or it's just a regular figure.
Other way around. Well, no, you're right. That's the secret figure because it has on the arm, it has the R cannon on the arm on the left. The other one does not. So you're right. That is correct.
All right. I actually don't have the other one on the tier list, but I think they look kind of the same, honestly. It's just that their body parts are swapped around, so...
Yeah, a lot of them look similar. Some of the ones, especially when you go into the trading figures, they only have a differentiation of eye color. And that's really weird because they have yellow eyes. They claim that the standard is yellow eye, and the alternate color is like blue colored eyes for some reason.
Oh, wow.
But not all of them are red. So she actually has 4 different colors of eyes. She has yellow, red, blue, and then there's ultra secret rare that's in there that we'll get to, and that one's pink. So.
Ah, cool. So, anyways, I'm just going to say this is a pretty decent figure. I like the pose. It's not super big or anything and whatnot. I love the display of weapons there, and for like... Wait, is this made by SR, right?
Yeah, it's about 3 inches, 2.5 inches. It's very small. Like, the thing with a lot of these older figures is like, this is a gachapon, however you want to pronounce it, but like they come in the capsules.
Oh yeah.
This specifically, there's a Yujin collection, which is like all the Namco girls. There's Namco x Capcom, and then there's like 3 different sets, but this one just happens to be like in a pair. But they only had like 1 original and 1 secret of each in this set, but they're really small.
Yeah, it's like, it's really cool. I would actually say it's a pretty good looking figure. I definitely say I would have it in B tier for that regard, just because it's a decent looking figure. You can display it anywhere depending on your shelf size, and I just like how displayable it is, and like there's nothing wrong with that either.
For me, I feel like I want to put it in A, and the only reason why is when you look at it closely, the face, oh my god, the face is like perfection. Like, even though it's really, really small, like the actual features on the eyes and the face and everything are just so clear in comparison to like some of the other, even the trading figures. I don't know what it is or how they did it, but specifically the nose shape and the eyes and everything is just like really good. And it's a little odd because the rest of the figure sort of lacks in quality, like the hair and stuff. The hair sort of like has issues with like it's not smooth, it's a little rigid edges, like the way that everything's like molded and stuff, and the painting's a little like not as good. But it's like it's the part that matters, you know, like the facial features are like pretty impressive. But I mean, it's B or A. Yeah, I agree. It's not really like, I only teeter on A just because the face is so well done. A lot of the Xenosaga figures, for some reason, suffer from face issues. Not all, but some, the smaller ones.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd say this is like a A- or B+ figure. I say it's like you said. The face and nose look nice. The eyes especially look fantastic for sure. Though the hair looks a little plasticky in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
But what can you say? I like the pose, and when you look at it from a distance, it looks really nice. So I say this is an A- figure. Alright, our next one is another Namco Cross Capcom figure, and I'm not sure who made this one. Do you happen to know, Watte?
You mean the second one over from the?
Yes, this one.
Okay. Oh, okay. So there's 3 sets. This is of the 3rd set. So this is interesting.
Okay.
It's also a capsule one as well, but the bases are different. So if you have like the full image, if you look at it, or if you do look up the figure, on the very bottom there's a stand. That stand is actually like a Gnosis next to that Gatling gun. So each stand is like representative of something from one of the Namco Girls games. And so in this case, it's like the Gnosis on the bottom, and then there's a Gatling gun, and then she's standing there. But it's also a capsule. It's really small. It's hard because it's like the quality's not that great on that one. but like, what do you do? What do you do when you have to, get it? You know what I mean?
So I have to talk about that stand, because now that you say it is a Gnosis, I don't really think that looks like a Gnosis at all, really. It kind of looks like a big old glob of golden yellow. Like,
yeah.
I don't really understand what it's supposed to be, and now you say it's a Gnosis, I'm like, really? That's it?
Yeah.
That just doesn't look
It's like
great.
literally the head of a Gnosis. It's one of those, like how they had Perun? I think Perun's the blue colored one, but it's the one with the mouth and the stomach that's bulging out, and then it's got like the square head and the little lines on it. Like, it's one of those. But
yeah.
It's like the yellow colored one. I forget its name, but It's just it's like the top half, and that's it.
Oh, yeah. I have to say with this one, this is the first not greatest KOS-MOS figure, and we will get into a whole bunch of them. But, like, I would say this would be at the high of C tier.
I agree.
Simply because it's just... The KOS-MOS figure looks decent, looks nice, the pose is nice. But, like, everything else, like the stand and the galley gun itself, doesn't look the best compared to the other trading figures. So I don't know.
The way she's standing
is...
No, I agree. The way she's standing, too, is very lopsided. Like, it's a very weird pose. Like, especially if you rotate it from a 360-degree angle, it looks like she's, like, literally leaning the whole time. It's very weird. And it's, like... And I looked up a couple of them just to see... Because I usually, like I said, I get multiple of them. They're all that way, so it's just the way that the figure was made. And it was made around the time of Namco's Capcom, obviously, because, you know, Namco character, you know. But it was, like, after the game came out, and so a lot of those capsule toys that were made to promote the games had, obviously, all the other characters, like, from the same crossover game. So they had, like, you know, Valkyrie or Valkyrie. We know it in English as Valkyrie. They had Xiaomu. But they only did the girls. Namco doesn't make really like guy figures, which sort of is a bummer because it'd be pretty cool to have like amiibo of you know Kazuya Mishima, right? Like we get like an amiibo, but like any of the regular figures is not. It's, you know, there's a Gen 1 coming out with Tekken 8, for example. You know, and Xenosaga got me into Tekken, so like that's why I'm into Tekken. Like crossovers are good, people, because they expose you to so many other games. But that's the main reason why. So it's just small.
All right, yeah. I just feel like this figure is not the best in its display. Like maybe swap the Gnosis stand with something else, or just not have a Gnosis there entirely. So I say C+ would be good. So. Alright, and the next one is the KOS-MOS V4 figure that's from Motion Reverie. I think that's what it's called, Motion Reverie series.
I can look it up. I think it might be Motion Revive. I don't know.
Oh, Revive. Excuse me. I'm just being stupid.
No, I don't remember really well too, because like they're really like ridiculously small, maybe like an inch or 2 inches.
I looked it up on Motion Revive series KOS-MOS one.
Okay.
I am surprised that you have that because there are many pictures from what I've seen, but the figure itself I think looks really decent looking. I like the weapons on it. I say the colors on it are pretty decent compared to the ones on the Series 3 Bandai versus Namco figure.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is that I really don't care for is like the stand. You know what, actually? I think the stand looks really plasticky looking. Like, it's just a big old plastic stand and it has that arm that holds the figure like that. It looks really weird. I don't know.
You know, that's funny. You say that because Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming out with the Figma as well. Same kind of stand. The Figma or motion articulation type figures usually have that kind of stand, and I'm not a fan of those either. I don't like them.
Well, I'd say the clear ones are ones that have some interesting colors in them I like.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is just plain white, and it looks ugly. The legs, I also don't really care for much. I don't like how the joints look on there, really. I think the one we will get to later from Max Factory looks a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I like how they designed the weapons to look on here. I'll give it credit for that. And the body structure and everything looks great. The hair still looks a little plasticky, but that's just me. I'd say it is a solid B tier figure.
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
How did you acquire this figure, by the way, Watte? Isn't this like a hard to find figure?
Yes and no, because they're not super expensive, but they're harder to find in good condition. I have Telos on my shelf as well, because they come in a set. They have what are called optional parts. So when you buy KOS-MOS, you get Telos' optional parts in KOS-MOS' package. When you buy Telos, you get KOS-MOS' optional parts. So you have to buy them as a set to get the full figure. because essentially like they have like the chess piece, you know, for Deteneritas and the other moves. Like they have like all the other pieces for each other. So if you don't buy them both, you don't get the full everything, like all the accessories. But the whole point of the motion revive is the articulation. So like there's tons of joints everywhere and they have so many movements, and that's really, really great. But for some reason they made them, like I said, like only a couple of inches, so they're really small. But like as far as the size and the quality of like details, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to put it in context because like people's standards these days for figures obviously is much higher because we can make better stuff. But at the time I would say that it was like, yeah, I would agree it would be a B tier just for the fact that it's just so detailed despite its size.
Oh yeah, for sure. I like the look of this figure. I just don't like the stand. I don't like how the joints are articulated, but everything else is really detailed. So I'll definitely say it is a really decent figure for that matter. So there you go. Alright, and our next one is most or some of you guys have already owned, and that is the KOS-MOS RE Good Smile figure. And yeah, I'm just going to say, this is the first S tier figure, literally.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it is the one that everybody knows. A lot of people have on their shelves. It has a great pose to it. The Zohar shaped cannon is so awesome. Everything is just so well detailed on this figure. The stand looks really nice. I wish I can own this figure. You know MD, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wish MD would own this figure. And yeah, this is pretty much it. I like this whole figure pretty much. For just being the only KOS-MOS RE figure, it's just really awesome, so...
I think when this came out, I don't know if it was right after a little while ago, we tend to do, because I told you I stream a lot, we tend to give away figures. So I've given away Melia, KOS-MOS 3, every time there's like a new one, I've given one out. I think the only one I haven't given out was Nia, just because like Nia's price is like insanely up there. But yeah, this figure, it's just the miracle of modern manufacturing. Like, just like, you know, like I said, we have so many ways to create figures better now that like there's no way to, this is S tier and there's no way to like, you know,
yeah,
definitively
there's
S-tier.
no way this is an S tier because like the whole slew of KOS-MOS figures on this list have been made in the late 2000s into the early 2010s. So this is like made in 2018 or something.
Yeah, it's been a couple years, but it's like the quality, I don't think there may be one or two that come pretty close. But I mean, from the old days, but like, yeah, generally anything newer is going to be produced better. So, but I mean, it's good. I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, not to discount the rest of the figures here because they are older and whatnot, but I just feel that just the KOS-MOS RE figure is like something that really shows the whole point of how many figures KOS-MOS had in the past. And how it should be materialized and whatnot. How KOS-MOS was in Xenoblade 2, it just makes sense to have, like, another figure for her in that fact. Hopefully, like, if we ever get a Xenosaga remake, we can either, like, have some of these figures remanufactured, but, like, have them look better in a lot of respects and stuff like that. If that makes any sense. I don't know if figures do that.
Yeah, I like a reproduction of them. Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
They do like a re-release or like they do like a reproduction of some of them. So like not specifically Xenosaga, but there are figures where they like remake them better versions, and then they just like are like one of the ones we have on here is a version for Kotobukiya kit, and we have the image and not the figure because you have to build it. But they had multiple runs of that, and the second one was a darker coating edition, which is basically painted with more vibrant colors because the initial print run had a different paint style. So they do rerun them, but it just sort of depends on like, you know, if it's like a scale model or if it's like a build your own.
Oh yeah, and the model kits and stuff. Yeah, I would love to see that. And some of them would look better than this. But this is like peak KOS-MOS figure to me. So as a regular scale figure, this is like peak KOS-MOS figure. Next one is V1 KOS-MOS from Romantic Union. This one in particular has a really cool pose and whatnot. I think the only issue with it is it's
hard because there's a lot of figures, especially back then, that are not manufactured directly by the company, so they become rare because, especially with this one, so like this one specifically is painted and colored. It was acquired from one of my friends, bless you, specifically because it was already pre-painted, because they're actually resin kits. So this involves that they come in pieces. They're just basically resin, no color at all. You'd have to strip them with something like purple power, then you'd have to Dremel into the pieces and put wire in them to stabilize them, because there's wiring. Then there's a process of like painting and sanding, and then you use like putty to fill in gaps. Like there's like this whole process that I became obsessed with because I wanted to learn how to make resin kits. So there's this wonderful content creator that I talked to. Her name's Leona's Workshop. And Leona, she does like a lot of these resin figures, and she does amazing work. And so a lot of these kits I do own, and that I don't have a lot of them pictured because they're not assembled, right? So like I don't have anything to like display. But this actually broke into several pieces, and I was lucky because the places that they broke were places that I could use resin glue. There's like this type of glue that's called like Zap-A-Gap. If you put resin on resin, it'll adhese. So luckily the places that it broke were places that were not detrimental that I could do that, and I was able to like salvage this figure because they had official colors on it. So when you get a kit like this, there's a guide that comes with like the brand of paint, what shade to use, like what color, like it specifically gives you like, these are what I used for the final image myself. And sometimes those paints go out of production, and like the problem is like with these, they're so customizable. You can make it to whatever you want, but the original initial print has a specific guide, and so some of those things don't exist anymore. So that's also a part of what makes it hard, is like I wanted to preserve that figure because it has the original colors that were in the guide. I don't know if those colors are produced anymore is the problem. So you could probably reassemble and paint it, but I would imagine that it would not be one for one the same if those colors, you can't purchase them in Japan, like the brand of paint.
Yeah, it's very much true, I'd say. That's a pretty good description of what kind of figure this is. Because originally, I didn't even know what this even was. It's like a garage kit sort of thing, right?
Yeah, it's like you basically are provided the pieces because they have a sculptor who sculpts the figure. And then it's up to you to put it together, to paint it, to remove all the resin stuff, to fill any gaps. It's literally like a hobby type thing. It's not like building, but you have to be very careful. Just a small disclaimer: if anybody decides to work with resin, you do have to wear a mask if you inhale it. You know, resin is dangerous to the human body. You need to have a filter. Make sure you have proper ventilation. Just putting that out there for anybody. It's again, if you aren't familiar with it, go see Leona's Workshop. And the only reason why I push it is because she's probably one of the people that shows you that process from start to beginning, and how to do that and how to do it safely, and her artwork speaks for itself. And so if you're curious on picking that up, go for it. These are not cheap or for the faint of heart, so understand that like last I found one of these, there's one left that I'm aware of that's out there of this specific figure. Runs to $250-$300, unpainted, unassembled, obviously. So I mean, don't think that they're easy to like. They're harder to track down because there's a sculptor and they're very limited. So
yeah, for sure. I like the look of what you did here, especially with the pose and stuff like that. I'm guessing you did all the posing and whatnot by yourself, right?
No, the posing is all pre-done. So the
pre-done.
part that I restored was like on her head actually broke off. I'll try to give you some pictures, but they're in the arms and stuff. So there's like pegs that you put on there, but the problem is where they snap is a little dangerous, because like if they don't snap directly on the joint, you obviously see lines on the figure. So underneath, like where the arms are, for example, there's like peg holes where the pegs go in. But those pegs can snap. And then like where the neck is. So the reason why you use like a Dremel or a drill into the figure and you put wiring in it is so that when you drop a figure where it would normally snap at like the neck, for example, that's a small piece, when the impact happens, that wire that's drilled inside when you assemble it, it prevents the snapping because the wire is like the strength of the resin inside. So that way it's less likely to break at certain points and joints and stuff. So some people, this specific person who did this, unfortunately didn't wire their figure. So what happens is when you drop it, it's more likely to break because it's just resin material. There's nothing there's no bones per se. She has no bones. So when you drop her, she's easier to break, you know?
Oh,
So that's
gotcha.
the problem, yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that like we get the knowledge of how making these kits work, especially like you obviously don't want to break these apart and make a mess of yourself just because of that. So having it being wired around the figure like this is pretty nice. I like the look of how this came out. I just like how it was painted, sculpted. I like how the legs look and everything. How tall is this, by the way?
It's actually taller than the KOS-MOS refigure. It's actually probably one of my largest ones. It's 1/6 scale, so it's about a foot, about a little more than a foot, probably 14 inches.
Dang, that's pretty nice though.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's really nice, and the thing is like, I think that's probably why this one, especially for a kit, is rather rare. I think because not only the scale, but to be able to assemble and paint and keep all of that together at that large of a size. There's no base. So like it makes me very scared. Like when I filmed it, I was very scared to do it because even on like a turntable, she's literally standing on her 2 feet. And so like the crazy thing is the sculptor managed to balance the figure in a way where it can stand on its own. But because there's no stand, it can fall easily. And I think that's what happened with the person who owned it before. I think that it managed to fall and that's how it ended up in pieces. But luckily the areas that it broke were in black areas, so I just, you can paint basic black paint, or you can like magic marker it. It's the same shade. And then magic markers are not magic markers, permanent markers are glossy. So what you do is when you paint that same area, you just rub it with your finger to spread the ink, and it takes the gloss out of it. So that way if you need to ever match black paint, if you ever try that trick, because if you just write with a marker, it'll leave like a glossy sheen to it, so you have to wipe it to get it to, but that's how I fixed it. So I mean, in the parts with the black
wow
areas. But
very cool stuff. I don't even know if I can get the time to get into these resin kits, because this takes a lot of work and a lot of money to even get. So I am glad to even get the privilege to even see a picture of one of these just right out there,
yeah, I'll acquire them as I can, but yeah, the problem is having time to work on them. Like mainly I'll just acquire them for like preservation purposes, and then if I can, do them or work on them, or even if I can find someone who I feel like I would be able to be okay with commissioning them or something. But right now, because of the rarity of them, I'm trying to see, there's people who do copies or reproductions of them. Since they're not official products, obviously you just, it's a different question of like making a copy. So I really would rather do that first prior to messing with the originals, because I'd rather not try to, try to mess with the figure, something goes wrong, and then it's lost forever. Like there's like no saving one of these. If you screw it up, like that may be the only copy left, and that's it,
True.
So
true.
these are definitely more the type of figures I don't on my channel, I usually don't like to discuss them, because these are the kinds that I'm after myself from like a collector standpoint, that are very competitive to get. And it makes it sounds horrible, but it makes it really hard to acquire them if you educate people on them, because then people also want them, but they don't think about preserving them. They want them to display them and do this and do that. And there's like a whole conversation of like, do you preserve something or do you use it? Because like if you don't use it, some people are like, you should open games because they're meant to be used, but there's like the whole question of like preservation for the future. So it's like a really hot topic, because like I myself want them so that we could maybe reproduce them and keep the originals. But there's like some people are like, you should just, but once they're gone, they're gone. So it's just a hot topic right now for people. So in that community anyway.
I could agree on that. All right. We should probably get going here. We've been here for quite a while, so, all right, and the next one is the KOS-MOS V1 Alter figure. I'd say this is a top A figure. The pose is great. I love how well it is articulated. I love how the hair looks. I love the kind of sad, well, this pose comes from episode 1, where KOS-MOS does that one pose where you finish a bow, where she says like,
external appearance is down 5%. Shion, I need to be clean.
Yep.
I knew you were gonna say that line.
Yep.
No, I was gonna say the cleaning line, isn't he?
or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I love the look of the body. I just like how the colors on this look. I like the stand especially. It is like a really big stand that you just put on. And yeah, it's nice to look at, really.
The only thing I'll mention about this, and this figure is very hard to get quality-wise, because like I said, the materials back then, right? So the hair actually has an issue with discoloration. So you have to be very particular if anybody's this one, and there's a KOS-MOS bone figure we'll get to later. You have to examine the figures because they tend to yellow. In this specific one, this one doesn't yellow. It fades really, really light when it's not supposed to be. So the figures can be different colors. So the variation in coloration, like I've seen some that are purple for some reason, and it's just because people store them out in the light or they store them other places. So if you are looking for it, don't go off of a stock image. Always ask like the person what it looks like, an actual photo of it. Just if, PSA for anybody getting it. So
No, that's completely fair. Definitely ask the seller what the color of the hair is before you buy it, and make sure you do that. But I like how you got one with blue hair, and it looks really good. It's just weird how the Alter figures have this weird discoloration effect to their figures. We'll get to them later, but the swimsuit figures also are made by Alter.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice how they have a big discoloration in their hair for them as well, so...
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, everything else about it is a high A tier, really. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely up there. It's one of the nicer ones, and it's a pretty large size. It's probably third largest, fourth largest in the whole entire lineup here. Fourth largest.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The next figure on our list is a whole slew of trading figures made by FigureMeister. There's at least 12 KOS-MOS figures, or maybe more. How many are there from FigureMeister?
Geez, it's a little hard because there's 3 different sets. And in each three different sets, there's usually 2 of each. There's an original color, a variant color. But in the third set, there is, they call them, this specific figure is called from the best, it's literally the best is the name of the collection. It's nothing but wild variant colors. They just wild out their random colors that are nothing. This one has silver hair, for example. But it's just that specific series is this is the nicest color, the nicest figures, but random color variations. But yeah, there's 3 different trading figure sets that I'm aware of.
There probably is more, honestly. My God, these FigureMeister figures are just I'm trying to look through these pictures just to see which one is which, and it's just so hard to tell apart from each because it's a slight difference from the color of their hair. But we will get to them later on. But this one and the regular one in particular, I would say they are pretty decent. I like the pose on them. They're pretty nice to put out on a shelf somewhere. I say this is top of B tier for me, really. I slightly like the blue-haired one more than the chrome-colored one, but I like how these poses look on V1 KOS-MOS, so...
Yeah, I would agree. They're really good quality. I don't really have any gripes about them. I think they're maybe...
I think for some of them later are pretty big stinkers, but these I feel show themselves very well. Actually, no. I spotted a difference between the chrome and the regular one. The color of her gloves and the strap around her leg is a bluish color on the secret version, while the regular one is black gloves and a leg strap.
One's navy and one's black.
Yeah, maybe you are right. No, I like the black gloves a little bit better, so... The blue ones are nice, so that's why I put them right next to each other, so...
It's pretty interesting because they're sort of just... You get to see different colors, so I don't mind it too much because it's you get to see wacky stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes the color choices are hit or miss, but it's interesting.
But yeah, I really like the pose for these, so I say they're pretty decent for trading figure standards.
Mm-hmm.
But we will come to later in FigureMeister figures where I really don't care for as much. And the next one in particular is one where it's just way too confusing to know, and the figures themselves just... don't really do a lot for me. So I'm going to put them in different parts, and that's the swimsuit Figuremeister figures. I'm going to go ahead and name them off. This one right here is like bluefish color, right? And this one is like coral blue. Like, these look so similar, it's just hard to tell apart.
They so are. The thing is like, I honestly, it's gonna sound horrible. I always feel like the swimsuit ones deserve it to be in like D tier. And the only reason I say this is cause like I feel so annoyed that like they have so many of them in so many different color variations that are taking up slots for like figures, cooler ones we could have, right? And I feel like it's just like your typical fan servicey type figure, and so like that's probably why I'm a little annoyed with it. I mean, they're really good figures, but like I just dropped them down to like the lowest of my collection because I feel like they're not unique because there's so many of them. Like they just threw out as many color variations as they could, you know.
They are both low C tier for me. They're just like, there's nothing going on with them. It's just the same freaking pose as the altar figure. The 4 color variations just look really dumb. The coral blue and the bluefish especially. How the heck can you tell them apart from each other? Like, what's the point? The only one I think I like is the orange one. That's it. And that is just below everything else, so...
I think there's the two ones, the lightest blue and the coral blue, those 2 other blue ones are metallic. That's like the paint quality. The other 2 are flat matte, but the other two are metallic. That's like really the only difference. But even then, even if you like make them metallic, it's not enough to make me be like, yeah, that's, you know, worth it.
No, it's not even worth it, honestly. We'll talk about the pose when we get to the altar swimsuit figure. But like, they're just not great for trading figures, I'll be honest. Anyways, let's actually get to a pretty great figure, and that's the KOS-MOS V1 Kotobukiya model kit. I've seen pictures of it. Let me actually pull up a picture, because this is just the box of it that you have out sealed and stuff like that. But let me look up the MyFigureCollection KOS-MOS figure real quick. Oh yeah, this looks like a really nice figure, I'll be honest. I like the leg joints on it, honestly. They're about as good as the Max Factory one that we will get to later, but this is the version 1. I like how the hair looks, and the stand especially. The pole doesn't look like a cheap plastic looking pole. It has a little bit of detail to it, and it is weird for these little holders and everything that it would just be like that. But Kotobukiya did this model kit very well here.
What's interesting
the weapons look really cool too.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is it's one of their first kits. So from my understanding and watching people build it, because I watched several people on YouTube as well, just out of curiosity when I was going through it, because I didn't have time to build it either. Apparently it's difficult to work with, because like even on those shoulder pieces, you know how she has those little pointy parts right there? They have to be glued on, and so like there's like certain things that don't connect like a regular more modern kit. So I've heard that it looks fantastic, but there's like a lot of extra things they don't tell you that you need besides things to cut the pieces out, like the I don't even know what they're called. They're not shears, but they're like the things that there's like these nippers. That's what they're called, nippers, to pull them out of the gates and stuff. So like it's a really, really good figure, but I hear that there's like a lot of like sanding and stuff required to get rid of like, there's these things called nubs when you clip them out that are like little points where they get separated out. You have to sand down. So I just hear that it looks good, but it's a lot of work.
Oh, for sure. Like, I have heard the Siren figures are a lot of work to do. And this one is what you're describing me as typical Kotobukiya model kit shenanigans for the Xeno series figures, it seems.
Siren is lucky because Siren they put the gates right, so it's not, you don't have as many like the nubbing and sanding down issues. But like I have to put the decals on it, but I built it, but like yeah, there was sanding involved in that too. So yeah.
But otherwise, Kotobukiya did some pretty good stuff here. The X-Buster looks really nice. They got all of KOS-MOS's weapons, like the pistol and the arm cannon. All of them look really good.
They are, yeah. All the weapons and stuff you are really detailed.
The only thing I have noticed is the back of her hair looks so strange. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Again, this is Twin Tails, but it's like...
Why jointed at all?
Why make a joint for this when you can make it plastic? But maybe if you were to position it right, you won't notice it as much anymore. We'll get to some hair issues later on.
It could just be them being novices at the time, because like literally this is one of their like earliest kits, which is pretty surprising to me, like when I was researching. So it could just be that they just didn't know how to properly like, you know, do that out, like mold it out. But I don't know.
Yeah, you are totally right on this. I like the different variations in the eye color as well. That's really cool.
Yeah, those are decals, I think, so you'd have to just like slap them on.
I might actually put this lower on the A tier spectrum, but it is still good figure-wise. You just have to position it correctly just so the weird joint issues don't stand out as much.
Yeah.
But yeah. So our next one is another Figuremeister figure, and we already seen these before. I think this isn't the best figure. These are just the regular ones, right?
Yeah, these are just the standard. The only difference is like eye color. So I mean, I still like them. I still put them, you know, in B because it's the same pose. The only difference is color. So it's just preference on like what you like, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And this one right here is another V1 KOS-MOS figure with a different pose. I'm not sure if I like this one as much. It makes her look cute, but looking at pictures of it, it kind of looks awkward looking. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's her.
It's hard because.
Oh, it's the one from Xenokami, and it's just now I can see why. Now I can see why they wanted to do that now, actually. But I like the Xenokami KOS-MOS one. It's just very. There isn't a lot to say about it besides the headgear and stuff. That's just a me thing, though.
No, I agree with you, absolutely. I think, though, the only difference between the two, because you see that one further down, yeah, the one you just pulled up, the difference is one has glossed hair, and in the hair there's like sparkles and stuff. It's like fiber optic hair, which is the one on the, yeah, that you just moved over in front. That's really the only difference. And that one has blue eyes, the one with the fiber optic hair. But like, yeah, the other one's just like a plain. Usually, this is from like Legends 2, which is the more common set that you can buy. Like even now today, it's not as popular, so you can just like go and find them pretty easily. But yeah, that's why, is because they're pretty much like standard plain type, you know.
Yeah, the glossy hair one looks really nice. It's just like, it's necessary to have the Xenokami ones, but personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the Xenokami KOS-MOS one, so maybe it's just how it's posed and whatnot. It just kind of irks me a little bit. Now let's get into yet another V1 figure, and that's the one from MyFigureCollection from Kyoto. And this figure looks incredible, I'll be honest. This looks a lot better than any of the Kotobukiya model kit figures. Like, this one in particular has probably the most badass stand out of all of them. It has a freaking Zohar for a stand. That's the most striking one that I have seen. And that looks really cool because of that. But KOS-MOS herself, there's some issues about it. Like, the hair looks a little bit faded out from your picture.
That's the original color, and this is what I mean about like discoloration. Because like what happens is this one only gets like literally will get yellowed. So you can go on like on eBay or something and go look at it. But like essentially like it's supposed to be light like that. So that is actually on purpose. It's a light blue instead, which is a little like here or there. Because like the problem with KOS-MOS figures is the blue always varies drastically between all of them. So there's no darker hair color. Like that's it. Like that's the proper color. So like that is some people's complaint that it's like too faded, like it's too light. But the only other option is like it can yellow because of the material. So it's really actually really hard to get one that's that color, that's pure blue like that. Like I had to search for quite a while, and it's not stored where my shelves are. It's not stored in direct sunlight. Because of that reason, it's like on a back wall, because yeah, it's really easy to discolor, unfortunately. But you're right, it is gorgeous from like just the figure standpoint. It's amazing. But
yeah, it's a well articulated figure, and yeah, the only issue with it is the hair. It's just Everything else about it looks fantastic, I feel. Nothing much to say here. The Zohar stand looks nice. Very different from any other KOS-MOS figures where it's just a blue or black or white stand, or just like any other typical stand really. But yeah, I like how it looks here, so definitely A tier for this one.
Yeah, I think the only drawback and the only thing that I could say about this figure is that on the stand, when you put it on the Zohar, they have these the pegs are weird, so like it's very easy for you to snap the pegs if you're trying to take the figure off the Zohar. Never do it. I'm just gonna pre-warn you to never take it off of there. I actually did it once on stream just to show somebody. It just snapped right off, and I had to like use that Zappa gap glue to like, you know, whatever. Who cares? It's an extra. So like I don't mind. They're out for display. If they break, it's not a big deal. You know, that's why I told you I get 2 of them. But like the stand is very much like the pegs can snap easy. So if you're putting it on, put it on and leave it on, and don't ever, you know, try to. Other than that, it's fantastic. But the stand it breaks pretty easy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, this sounds really painful. We'll get to the swimsuit ones a little bit later on, but yeah, one of the pegs on one of them broke off, so yeah, it's such a pain in the butt to put it all back together again. So
mine is broken on my peg as well, so I just super glued the heel on. That's a whole nother. But they have an issue with pegs, it seems like, but it's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And the next one is yet another V1 figure. Man, are we just going through all the V1 figures or something like that? But this one comes from Namco actually, and it is the V1 KOS-MOS, and it's just a standard typical figure. Nothing really special about it.
I will debate the special part, and the only reason I'll debate that is because it's actually the first KOS-MOS figure ever made. It comes in the limited edition of Xenosaga Episode 1 at launch. There's a limited edition boxes for Episode 1 and Episode 2, and each one have a figure, and this is from the Episode 1 box, and it's really the first one that was ever made. So to me, even though it doesn't look the best, it's like literally the first one, so it like sort of holds like a little bit of a special place in my heart. They're not too hard to find, like they're not super expensive or anything, but it's literally just like the first one, and what's crazy is it's packaged in like, at least for those who are in America, I don't know if anybody outside, but you know how you have like those action figures at like at a grocery store or at like a toy store or something, where they have like those, it's like a backboard on it and it's like a plastic bubble on it. It's packaged that way, so it's sort of like packaged as like an old school action figure. So it sort of is like a little nostalgic too. But yeah,
no,
it doesn't look the
I
greatest,
understand that actually, but I still think this is just a
Yeah.
low B tier figure.
Mm-hmm.
Just the most minimum. Like I said, there's nothing really special or noteworthy about it besides being the first KOS-MOS figure ever. But that's just really me, so. But yeah, the next figures though, I'll be perfectly honest.
We need a new tier for it.
Okay, you know what? Yeah.
We need meme tier is what I wanted to ask for when looking at this. You gotta.
There we go, Mokos tier. There, our favorite Mokos figures. These are, like you said about the episode 1 V1 figure, this figure came with the limited edition for episode 2. And what came with it is a monstrosity, to say the least. Like, for real though.
Yeah, I mean,
like, a monster came out and possessed KOS-MOS' face just like that.
It's I don't know what I remember. Oh, you know what? That's what it was. Okay, so in the back of KOS-MOS Fix, the KOS-MOS Fix book that just came out by Choco-san, in the back there's an interview about this figure, which I think is hilarious. And there's actually, I don't think it's in the book, but there was a posting of the actual what the figure was supposed to look like. It looks way better than what we got. Apparently there was an issue with manufacturing and they couldn't replicate the actual figure that was made, and that's how it ended up the way that it ended up, with like the weird face. But the original that like is owned by the person who made it, oh my gosh, it's pretty stunning. I'll see if I can find a picture of it for people, because I don't remember where I saw it and I wish I should have saved it somewhere. But yeah, it's this is due to mass manufacturing, and it was confirmed that it was like a manufacturing issue. But still, I love that it happened though.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It is a meme now.
Yeah.
Even outside of the Xeno series, this
Mhm.
figure just became a meme and stuff. There actually has been... I've done a little research about, like, probably the worst face figures called the monstrosity figures. And, like, that whole thing about it just came from this. The
Yeah.
KOS-MOS face right here. This is
Yeah.
just... like, I am so glad this was made because we wouldn't have gotten memes otherwise. It's even an emote in my Discord server too. If you guys want to join, hit me up.
Just to use
But
that.
yeah, these figures look just so funny. But regardless of what the face is, just as figures alone, they aren't anything special. Just like the V1 figure that came with the Xenosaga Episode 1 Limited Edition. Well, I guess the bike one kind of looks special because of the base on it, and the bike itself looks
The
different
figures
than
aren't great, but the bike is like fantastic.
Yeah, the bike.
The bike
yeah,
is
the
amazing.
bike is even better than the freaking figure that is
Yeah.
on it itself. So I just think that is great.
It just makes me laugh.
Bike should probably
Yeah.
be in S tier. Yeah, if just the bike was on here, it would be in
Yeah,
freaking S tier.
Exactly.
If a bike like that was in real life, I would actually buy it. And I would drive around town just with the KOS-MOS bike saying, "Hey guys, what's up? Wanna jump
I should've just taken a
in?"
picture of just the bike. I didn't think about that. I could have just done the bike. And then we could just put the bike
Yeah.
on this too. So funny.
Yeah, that would be great. Alright, anything else you want to say about the meme figures, Watte?
What can I say? I think I said it in the iceberg with the other guys when we did that Xeno iceberg. Don't look into her eyes, she'll steal your soul. I know all secret of the universe is inside those eyes, but just it's not worth it. Just look and move on.
Right, that's all I can say though.
Just look into her eyes. You won't be enough.
Yep.
Anyways, let's get to our next figure, which is another Figuremeister figure.
Yes.
But this one is on V2 KOS-MOS.
Another swimsuit. But at least it's the only one of its kind, and at least it doesn't have like 50 colors to it.
I will be quite honest though, even though this is just yet another swimsuit figure,
It's better
it
than
is
others.
way better than the V1 swimsuits.
Yeah.
It has a unique pose to it, it has some kind of sheen to it or something, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a pearl? Like a glossy
Pearl.
pearlish type?
Yeah, it has a glossy pearl finish to it. I'll have to say, this looks nice. I'll be honest compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
The swimsuit, I would say, is more tasteful than the other ones. Of course, this is just there for fan service, but I say this is decent as a training figure alone. Not as good as the V1 pose over here.
Yeah.
I think this looks really nice, though. Maybe, like, right here would be good on the tier list.
Yeah. It's not bad at all. And as I said, I sort of, it's different because it doesn't have like so many variations. It's like, that's it. That's like the one. So it's definitely better than, you know, the multiple of the same.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So the next one, I do not like these figures. When I was doing them for this tier list, it was way hard to tell them apart. I just cannot like... I will start with the gray one. The gray one looks really different. The only real difference is the hair color, and it reminds me a bit of Telos, like with the purplish looking body and the white hair.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of Telos a little bit, and I find that pretty nice. I think the body itself is purple too.
Or sort of like Prototype KOS-MOS Episode 1 with the gray hair. Sort of like that too.
Yeah. You're right. But the other ones, I can't.
It's eye color. It's eye color, literally.
Yeah, it's the only other difference there. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Okay, here's the thing about them. The hair color is the same for the most part, and like the pose is so basic looking. It's just KOS-MOS's arm just stretched out like, "Come over here!" I just don't think that's what KOS-MOS, especially V2 KOS-MOS, should be. I just think these look awful.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to say about it. To me, they just don't look great. They just look they just don't look like an actual KOS-MOS to me, of what she is supposed to be like. And I know the trading figures have different poses too for each of them. Obviously, the Senokami one should be different than the episode 1 one was. But do they really need to choose this pose for V2 KOS-MOS? Like, I am genuinely asking here, do they really need to show that?
I think, from what I remember, I think it's from the moment in episode 2 where they're making a turn around the stronghold, and like the gravity causes like Xion to fall, and she reaches out to grab Xion to like hold her whenever it's like she's falling in the Woglinde. So I think that's from the moment where she reaches out to grab her and she's holding her.
Yeah.
So I think that's what that's supposed to be. That's why they picked it, because that was probably one of the few iconic.
Yeah, the few iconic KOS-MOS things is just her arms stretching
2.
out. Like, really, episode 2 is so great for that reason.
Yes.
But out of context,
Yeah, it's weird
it
if you don't
doesn't look good. It doesn't look like anything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to any Xenosaga episode 2 fans that are disappointed of how I ranked this pose of KOS-MOS. But I just don't like it. I'm sorry.
It's fine. You don't have to. A lot of people don't like episode 2 in general. I personally do. I sort of love them all. I think they're all different in their own way. They give us the air and ground, which is topple and launch and Xenoblades. I think, in my opinion, I feel like episode 2 has so many values of what later became in the Xenoblade series that a lot of people don't realize it. But it's you know, I understand, because it is controversial, and the style is completely different from episode 1 and 3. Like, they tried to make it more realism, you know, so like the models of the characters and stuff. Yeah, so I get it. So.
And this is like the only V2 KOS-MOS figures as well.
Yeah.
Besides the Mokos ones. Like, they could have just done it so much better with these. I think I like the Mokos figures more than these figures to be, I'll be perfectly honest. I just don't understand these. I can't believe I am saying this, but these 4 freaking swimsuit train figure ones are slightly better than these 2. I'm sorry. That's how I feel about them. At least I put the gray hair one in front of them.
Yeah, that's one of the best.
I redeemed myself because of it.
That's one of the best series ones, the one with the wild colors. So I understand that one, yeah.
But from a pretty awful trading figure to what I consider one of the best trading figures. What is this, actually? Is this some sort of design for KOS-MOS that hasn't been released or something like that?
It did get released, but we don't have both colors on the tier list for some reason. I would throw them both up in A, but for one specific reason. So this is from Xenosaga: A Missing Year.
Oh yeah, that's
Missing Year
right.
was a webisode series that was available on a Japanese website. It was the size of the resolution, because this is back in the day, everybody, it was like 320 by like 240. It was like intensely small. So as the years went on, people had saved the Flash files, because it was back when Flash was like a thing. It was an interactive novel, and like people blew up the resolution and stuff, and they tried to translate it. And currently we're on a project, a mission to redo the whole entire thing. I'm on a group that we've announced that we've been doing that. Progress is
it's
the
really
art,
great.
the update, everything looks really fantastic. But it's only really high because it's rare. Like, that's the only time, and we actually used it as reference shots to redo the art that we're doing on the project, because the original color, you can actually see 360 degrees and like the logos and on her arms and everything. It's extremely detailed, and it's probably the only time you get to see that outfit is in this figure in a 360 degree, because everything in Missing Year is 2D and you don't get to see the whole entire angle. So it's a very rare figure in just the sense of like, there's no other Missing Year style. And so I think it's like a 2.5 is what they call the actual version, but a lot of people call it like the temporal body version. And it's really weird because it's a combination of like 3 or 4 styles. Yeah, it's got version 4, the chest area's got like the cloth, the abdominal section has like episode 1 on it. Like, there's like multiple pieces. So they were transitioning her to another version, and she had to be called on to help Yuli Mizrahi, and there's like a whole thing about Gnosis terrorism if you guys look into that part of the game. And essentially they had to get her out of maintenance early to help with the situation, so that's why she doesn't look complete. But probably, I think it's one of the cooler ones just because you don't get to see that design ever anywhere else other than that 2D webisode series. I think it's like 6 episodes or something.
Yeah, for a trading figure, this is... And you said this is incredibly rare. I like this figure just in general as just a rare figure. I like how it's just articulated too. The pose is really nice. The stand looks different than the other ones because it looks like she is floating on this one, right?
Yeah, the colors of the stands actually designate the set they belong to. So like there's blue stands for one set, clear is another, and black is the third. So they're all like color coded by like the series they're from, like the trading figure series.
Yeah, I can't say enough good about this. I like how the hair looks too. This little ahoge or something here on top, or ahegio or something like that. I think that's what it's called.
No, ahoge is right.
Ahoge is right. Yeah, I like the cloth on it as well. Yeah, as a trading figure, I think this is fantastic. I like it a lot, and I'm glad this was made, especially because of your project for Xenosaga missing your redo. So yeah, I like this a lot. So I can't wait to see more of that project, especially. So keep me updated on that, Watte.
Me too.
The next one is the second Kotobukiya figure of KOS-MOS V4.
Man, the box on that is so beautiful. The version 4 box, like it's like got like metallic and like it's shimmery and stuff. Like the box is so beautiful. It just sits on my shelf because it's also apparently one that's harder to work on. I've only done Siren. Like I bought several Kotobukiya kits and like I was building them and I just haven't finished. And it looks really nice. It's lighter. The hair's lighter. There's the coating, the extra coating edition. I don't know because I feel like it's only slightly darker. So like they're both versions look like pretty much the same. So I mean, maybe the weapons, like do you see how that's completely silver? How there's no yellow and everything? That's the difference between the two editions. One has actual like yellow and black on it, like the Gatling gun, but the weapons on the other version don't have the same coloration apparently.
Yeah,
see?
They're actually different.
There's one's
So,
colored.
what was the one you got? Was it the one with the yellow?
I have both.
Oh, you got both of them.
It's the same color. The box is the same. The only difference on the box is there's text on it that says extra coating edition on the bottom. But the box is literally like the same. It's just denoted. And I think if you look at like the barcode, the SKU is different. The store SKU like on the barcode is different too. But I mean, they're literally the same figure. The only difference is the coloration and weapons and sort of the shading on her, like her clothing, but the hair is like the same color. But I mean, if you get either or, it's not a big deal. Like they're essentially the same thing, but like, you know, it's harder to tell because
this looks awesome though. Yeah.
It's harder to tell though because like when you're buying from a seller, you have to have the UPC on the boxes. Because like there's no the older versions, what happens is like in Japan specifically, they have it in their kits, right? When you get the kits, there's like a reorder card where you can order specific runners or specific parts. Like let's say you broke your gun and you just want to order the gun parts, you can do that. But what happens is some stores save the boxes, they reorder the runners and then they re-put in the runners back into the box and they sell it as a full complete, like if they get a trade-in or this or that. But the problem when they do that is that sometimes they don't order the right thing and like the kit, like they mix like these two kit pieces together. So like you always have to, it sucks because you always have to check them. So like I don't think you could find like a sealed one technically in this day and age because people have to open to check to see, are the weapons the same? If you're trying to get both versions because they're older. So like that would be the only caveat on this I would mention is you just have to check when you get them.
But otherwise, is there any other Kotobukiya nonsense about this? Like any pieces you have to glue on and stuff and use sandpaper to make this?
On the picture you have right there on the arm, those little black pieces go up a little, like on the there. Those pieces have to be glued on, like they're detached. And there's like a lot of things you have to glue. The Kaiser piece on her leg, that golden piece, snaps so easy because it's only connected by that little black triangle thingy. So that breaks. So like it's very fragile, I've heard. But I mean, other than that, I mean that's
typical Kotobukiya nonsense.
It's just like your standard.
Yep. But yeah, I say this is a really decent and articulated figure for Kotobukiya. Probably one of their best Xeno series figures by far. it's got its Kotobukiya nonsense, but like, you know, it's alright in general, so
Yeah.
I would like to own one of these KOS-MOS model kits one of these days. I don't know if I want the Kotobukiya or Max Factory one we will get to later, but just, yeah, I really do like that one. Let's finally get to the only KOS-MOS figures I have, actually, and that's the swimsuit alter figures. Okay, they range in quality for one, pretty substantially depending on what swimsuit you own.
Yeah.
Like the Telos figure, for example, I'd probably say it's like a low A tier figure. As terms of articulation and fan service stuff in general, the outside of the box looks really cool for the Telos one, like very different than the other ones. Like, it talks about the story of episode 3 a little bit more, like the beginning of the game. Like the stand, but this is the figure that I mentioned earlier that has a broken heel on it. I have yet to super glue it, though. I should do that one of these days, but I like how it articulates a little bit more, so.
The Telos variation is actually the rarest of them, and it's
Yes.
going up hella amount of money in the price. Because it was like a alternate color exclusive for a website. I'd have to look up which website it is, but it's same thing with the orange, both the orange and the black. But the black Telos variation was like way less in print, so having one I would say would be just good enough, because I think they're running like maybe 250, 300, and they're going up just used. So like it's just way harder to find that coloration.
Yeah, I am glad I got this when I did, especially. And with the orange and the blue swimsuit figures, I think they are pretty decent. But like, yeah, they are both better than the trading figures. Just good articulation. I think I might like the orange one a bit better. But like, both of them are better articulated just as KOS-MOS figures. I like how it has those buns too. I think in the KOS-MOS Fix book, they have a version of KOS-MOS with swimsuits, and I think they have buns on them as well, I believe. Do you have anything to say about these figures, Watte?
I think these are better than the trading like if I had to choose, right, like which ones they made, I feel like that color variation wise, this makes more sense than just the coloration of the swimsuit, because I feel like, okay, there's a Telos version, there's like a KOS-MOS version, there's like I feel like those types of variations are okay. The trading figure, there's too minute, like those sort of feel like filler slots, you know what I mean? Like they just sort of did them to fill slots to put out a trading figure set.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, these I definitely like better. Yeah, nothing much to say, you know. There's a knife on her leg that she uses in episode 3.
Oh yeah, I remember the
about
knife.
it.
Yeah,
that's
they're
about
pretty
it.
cool, but you have to tape it on her hip. There's like no kind of holder or anything.
There's like a little band around the leg. There should be like a little band piece, but it doesn't stay together very well.
Yeah, there is a band there, but like I said, you have to tape it on. There is not like nothing to hold the knife on.
Yeah, you just
But maybe
slot it
when
in.
I put it all together, I will try to find that band and put the knife on there. So, all right, our next one is this another training figure?
No, it's actually, how big is that? Probably the same as the alter figure size, maybe a little taller. It's from HappyNet. So HappyNet, it was an exclusive sale. HappyNet, HappyNet, for anybody looking it up. It also has issues with discoloration. Like the one that I have on display, I've had for a long time, so it's like bluish, purplish hair. But it's actually a really tall. It's pretty tall, and it comes with a dragon tooth. The dragon tooth, the saber. Yeah, and it comes with like the pistol and everything, so it comes with accessories and stuff. But it was like exclusive sale, and it's not too expensive, but it's hard to find. It's a little weird, like especially with like Xenosaga figures. Like there's like the expensive ones, right? But then there's like the less expensive, but they're rarer. It's really weird. Like so like you can find, if you can find this, like then you know it's not expensive. But that's the thing that's weird about it, is like if you can find it. So it's like I don't understand that. You would think usually rarity equates with like money, like the rarer it is, the more expensive. But like the price usually stays fairly low, even internationally. But it's hard to find. So
That
I
is
don't know
really
the correlation
strange.
of that.
Never heard a figure be like that where it's really rare, but $100 or something like that.
Yeah, it's only 40 actually. It's
40?
Yeah,
Jesus
it's like 40
Christ.
bucks.
Okay.
And but it's like hard to find. So like I don't know, and I think it's probably because of the discoloration issue, because it comes in a package that's 360 degrees that has like windows on the sides, but like the edges are like cardboard, but the window's yellow too, because I think it's like something with like rice paper or something. They use something like a different material in Japan, but it yellows and it causes the hair to change color too. So I think it's hard because like maybe that's why it's rare, because like it doesn't keep well. The only one that I have that kept well, the only reason why it kept well was because I had it packed away. Like I said, I wrapped them in tissue paper, all the figures, to keep from fading, and the windows are still white and clear. But if you don't do that, like most people who have them out in shops and stuff, so like Saga figures are really hard to get, not because of availability necessarily sometimes, but just because of quality wise. Like if you're trying to find one that's like it was when it was released, if it wasn't stored properly, and that's any figure, it's just hard. And that's why it's taking me so many years over the years to get the kind of figures that I have, is because it's not that you can't find them. Like some of the trading figures and stuff you can find, but to find full sets or to find a specific one or to, you know,
right,
it's just
harder.
That's when it becomes difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really inexpensive. It's just hard to find. I don't know. It's weird.
So going over the figure itself, I think it's just a decent pose, not anything really spectacular. The stand is just a typical black stand. Actually, the stand looks pretty big though, just looking at it.
It's sort of really too big in my opinion. Like it feels like she's just like standing on this big black
too
pedestal.
too big.
I should have done the dragon tooth pose. Like you can repose it and change it, but there's no joints. So like the pose is
really?
basically, yeah, there's no joints.
Oh, that
to it.
sucks.
So it's pretty much like a statue, but like you pull it off and you put the dragon tooth on it. Like it looks really good with the dragon tooth. The pistol, it doesn't look as impressive. It just sort of like she's just like holding it, but like there's no joints. So yeah, it's basically a statue. I think the only thing that moves is like her head, and that's pretty much it. So
right, I say this would be an A tier figure if everything was articulated correctly. Like the stand is just too big, just like you said about the joint for the dragon tooth. It's just not there. It would look awesome if you were to just put it on there. And like you said about the discoloration issue, this one kind of hits it even more so. Like how it is rare and inexpensive to even find. So yeah, just because of that, it is just a decent figure in general. So next up is, oh yeah, this one is really cool. So this one is the V4 altar figure.
Freaking S tier.
Oh yeah, no, I'll be honest, S tier. This is one of the better looking altar figures that have ever been released by them. But like you said about the discoloration issue with these figures in general, but this one has like a unique stand to it. It just comes with a gun attached to her, and it looks awesome, really. The pose just looks awesome too. It just makes her so action focused. And I just like that for that reason, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. It's probably like my favorite figure of every single like KOS-MOS figure, and it's only because like version 4 has always been a design that just looks really good.
Yeah, and
it's
the right places.
Yeah, and it just sort of feels like, especially this figure, the scale of it, the quality of it. This one, it's so hard because like with any KOS-MOS figure, when they make her hair lighter like that, like even though they're both S tier, it's the same thing with like we talk about the discoloration. And the problem is I don't know if it's the materials back then, or I don't know if it's just the hair color, but like the Xenoblade KOS-MOS Re, obviously darker hair wouldn't have as much issue with that. This one doesn't have much issue with it either, but I mean, I do see some people who put them out and they do have a little bit of that issue, but that could just be mishandling, because I don't really see the inconsistency of it. But it's hands down, like there's a Telos one that we don't have on the list today because we're only doing KOS-MOS, but there's a Telos one that connects to it, and they both connect with the stands on the bottom. So that's really cool. Like it's just really cool that it's like the pinnacle of like episode 3 figure. They just look so good together. So
No, I can't agree more. This is the most well-articulated Alter figures, and just KOS-MOS figures in general. I would love to own one of these figures someday, but you know how expensive Alter figures are in general nowadays.
yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
god dang it. I would like to own one of these, but I'll just stick with the 3 swimsuit figures that I have just sitting there. But yeah, Ultra makes some really great figures. They just have an issue with some of the older figures having some discoloration to them, so I hope I can track one down one of these days and display it, so...
I lucked out because I had a friend in Japan who his friend was like moving his store, clearing it out or something, and he had 2 of these that were open box, and I got them for like 40 each, and I gave them...
Yo, what?
Yeah, and I gave them to, because it's a friend of a friend, and so I gave them to Momoka and Anel, and that's how they got theirs, because they'd always wanted it. That was like their holy grail figure, and like we were friends, and so I sent it to both of them, so they both have it now too, so we all have the same figure. But I was like, it just like, sometimes you get really lucky because like Japan has very limited space, right? Because like it's a smaller country, and just in general they have like space. So when people move or change or do stuff like that, sometimes you can find crazy stuff like that. But yeah, that'll always be a memory for me because I couldn't believe that was like the price.
You lucked out so hard,
yeah.
man.
So,
you
like,
really did.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, I took them both, and then I ended up sending it to them. So, but it's hands down. It's just if you can own one, that's it.
I would especially love to see it in person one of these days too.
It's quite something. Like sculpting on it and everything, like the hairlines and everything.
Yeah,
because
sculpting,
like
yep.
the hairlines, you could only see the lines of the hair because of like shadows from like natural light. So like it's really hard to describe because like with any figure it's molded, but the way that the hair is done is just like you could only see the shape of it if you have light in there. If you like had no light, you know, like I mean obviously not dark like a dark room, like you can't see anything. But what I'm saying is like you can see the shape of the hair so well. It's crazy. Anyway, that's hands down my favorite. So
for sure,
all of them. So.
Next one is the V4 All Mech Figma. Let me get a screen grab from the MyFigureCollection website. And I don't know if you own this figure though.
I do. I do own them. The problem is I own a lot of them, but the problem is I haven't bought spares of them. So like the goal for me is to first buy whatever best condition one I can find, and then if I buy more than one, then you know I'll generally open the ones that aren't as good, because like I'm trying to be as picky as possible in curating like the collection to preserve. So like sometimes I'll have like Motion Revive. I have a Motion Revive Telos, but I didn't take a picture of it because like I have one that's sealed. So like a lot of these I do have. It's just like I don't open them unless I have a second, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that tends to be, yeah. It's a little daunting though, because like now that I think about it, like having out and display and then having them like put away is like a lot of space. It takes a lot of space.
Yeah.
I try not to, you know, but
yeah, they really do. Oh, it's made by Alter actually. So its classification is just all mech, but it is made by Alter.
I mean, it sort of is just, it looks beautiful, but it's just sort of like...
I like it, actually. For an Alter Figma, this is definitely something. Not like you can definitely pose it. Yeah, it's got a lot of it, actually. Wow.
Yeah, it's really good. The only thing I hear about is because the stand is flimsy, it's very hard to, like, pose it, but it's got the same base as like the other Alter. See the smaller hexagonal
Yes,
base?
I do, yes.
Yeah, so it's got the similar base as their larger scaled figure. I like it, but it's just like people just say it's hard to hold up. But I mean, if you have it stationary like that, like the one floating off of the floor is obviously
it's harder to do. The honeycomb
so
stand looks nice though.
Yeah,
I might actually rank this higher. Man, this looks really nice. When I looked at it, I was put off a little bit, but this is actually kind of nice. Alter really does some nice stuff.
Yeah, the hair pieces are fantastic for the Alter. It just looks so, I don't know. I've always enjoyed. It's hard because I don't like Figmas all the time because of the joint placements, but this just looks good. Like I don't know, they did a really good job at hiding like those joint issues that I always have with Figmas, so that's why I like it. But
yeah, I think I'm putting this at high A tier. Probably like right here. I think this looks fantastic. I just think, like, what you said about the Figmas and the joint issues and stuff like that, and I feel like this looks kind of simple, really, just from looking at it. It's just a basic pose, and you can pose it in different ways. I think there are other KOS-MOS figures that do its job better. Well, the next one definitely does its job better. Do you have anything else to say about this one at all?
Not really. I mean, the only thing is the packaging is it's definitely larger than it needs to be, but it's like a giant square. But the packaging is beautiful, is like spot on beautiful. Like, cause it's got like a silhouette over on the front with the Zohar. Then like you flip it open and it's like got the window. It's like, you know, like a traditional.
That
like,
looks nice, actually.
Yeah, like Play Arts Kai type thing where they have a window where like you flip the flap open and there's like a, you know, like Square Enix type figures. But yeah, it's definitely, the packaging on it is pretty cool.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, so. Alright, so next up is one of the best looking action/model kit figures that you can even find. And this is the V4 from Max Factory. And I think this is an S tier Figma. What do you think?
I think it's up there, yeah. It's so, Figmas are hard to describe to people because when you say Figma, it's like they have like this predetermined image of like what they are. And like it's really awesome to see.
Like, look at this.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly. Exactly. It's definitely shocking when you look at a Figma and you're like, wow, it doesn't, it makes me think of something different. You know what I mean?
This looks
this
awesome. I like what Max Factory did with this KOS-MOS figure in particular. I think this looks different from the Alter one. Her face is more realistic looking and her hair is nice as well. There's a ton of different things you can do with the pose I have seen too. It just looks awesome. I would love to own one of these someday too, just to see really what else you can do with it.
I like that pose the best, the one with the Gatling, the double Gatling. Just because it reminds me of episode 1. It's just nostalgic.
Yeah, episode 1, yeah, I agree too. This one looks nice too. I like this one. They did a lot here. This one looks great too.
Yeah.
Like, you can do a lot of different kinds of poses with this one, and I feel this is different from the other Figmas in general that you can't display here. Like, that is just so nice in that regard.
I like when they give options and stuff too.
Oh, for sure. This one looks incredible. That one looks nice. Dang, I want to own one of these someday. Yeah, I definitely say this is an S tier figure. Probably like a low one, but just... I really like this a lot more than the Alter one. Just as a way of displaying it in general and to just show what KOS-MOS can do in general.
Yeah, I think the point of Figmas is exactly what you said, is like...
Yeah, the entire point.
Yeah, showing off like, you know, something in motion. You know, like it stands still, but it looks like it's moving, you know?
Right, and Max Factory did a wondrous job with that, so... Alright, next up is another trading figure again.
I'm wanting to say...
Why? What's up?
Yeah, I'm wanting to say, I don't know if there's a... Oh, well, I was thinking, I don't know if there's a... If this is the... If they're all part of the same set or not. I'm trying to remember. Because I think they are.
Yeah, there's one with the black stand and these two with the white stand one.
Oh, okay,
I think the only difference is the color of their eyes, but I don't know. I like the look of both of these. I think they're really decent. I think they are better than the already decent V1 figures, right? They got a really sassy pose too. I like how KOS-MOS just stands on that black pedestal in general. I think they did a pretty good job of showing her off for this trading figure in general. But what is really special about this one in particular is that this is the only time in the Xeno series that KOS-MOS has pink hair in any kind of merchandise.
Yeah.
And this trading figure especially is very rare. One of the rarest ones in the trading set. So this is immediately striking in general.
Yeah. I mean, part of that too, it's the secret rare, so I don't know if the others have a secret rare slot, because it's been so long, like it's like I haven't even recall from memory, but this one specifically, it comes in the best set. But I know at one point it was a secret rare where like you would have to pull it, so you would buy like a I guess they would call them a display now, where essentially it's like a box of like 6 of them or something, or 12, whatever the size is. I think it's like 9. But like the last box is always like either a dupe or, you know, the secret rare or a duplicate of something. You know how those blind box type things work. But like you have to pull that there. But I think the best set already has it in this set. But even then, like, it's weird because people will sell the set and they won't have that. So the rare set is the best, and the reason why is because it's hard to find a full box of it. Like, it just doesn't exist, like, especially these last few years. So like finding it is a hassle, let alone finding a full set. But it's hard because like I can't recommend not buying them because you don't have a full set, because they are hard to find in general. The best set is, but at the same time, it's like people won't sell that on its own. So usually you have to buy it in a set. So because they know it's the rarest one. But like I had somebody who I was talking to in a Discord who did manage to get one from Europe. It was a few months back. Somebody was only selling that individual one, and I told them to scoop it up, and they did. But like that's the only time I've ever seen it like by itself. So, but yeah, it's wacky color. I think it's pretty cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think my only complaint with it is that if you look really closely, there's a copyright logo on the hair, and I don't know how I feel about that. And if you look at a specific angle, you can look at the copyright logo on the hair, and it just looks really off-putting.
Yeah,
especially on the pink one. It's like, I want to like these, but copyright logos on the hair are just like, why?
NBGI right on the back of her, on the hair on the back of her neck. Gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I agree. That's a little, you know. I mean, I guess I don't know. There's no way to really. You could probably scrape it because it's a pure printed plastic. So I'm sure you could scrape it off and it would be like, or take like one of those X-Acto knives and like cut slightly and then sand. I don't know. You could probably remove it, but I mean, who wants to do all that? You know.
Just people just not want to have this showing off. It's just so distracting.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, they're just decent figures. I like the pose, and I think they're the better trading figures in general out of this set.
Yeah.
Next one is the V3 KOS-MOS figures that are the only trading figures there are. These look really good, just as a decent figure in general. I think the only problem with them, though, I think there are 2 different figures, and one of them has a different pose than the other. Actually, no. It's because of the series they're in, right? I think this is the second series, I think.
One is Legends 1, which is the one with the hand up. The other one is a part of, it's like a capsule series, which is a smaller one.
Oh,
so yeah,
okay.
They're both from 2 different series,
different.
but like the one with the arm up is like smaller than the other one, the black one. But there's actually, I don't know if we have it. We might not have it pictured because there's another white stand one. There's 2. There's a white stand one in the same pose as that one. So there's like 2 of the white ones, and then there's like one that's the larger. It's hard to tell scale though, because like when you take a picture, unless you look at the stand and you notice the stand color, then it's pretty much the same figure, just at a different scale. So
I think there are a couple problems with these figures. The train figure that is from HGIF, I believe.
Yeah,
that one looks ugly looking, I believe.
They all have issues with painting, and it was so hard. Like the ones that I preserved, like I got so many of them because like I was trying to look for some that have good paint jobs. So the ones that I preserved luckily have like amazing paint jobs, but it's very hard to find them with like decent paint jobs. Like I think the one coming up next, if you look at the skirt, like eventually if you look at it, there's like chipping on the paint. Like it's like so hard.
No.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, like that's just the one I have on display, so I don't care.
HGIF,
but like
I believe.
it's the HGIF ones that they're like capsule toys too. Like the painting on them isn't great, you know.
That's a shame though.
Yeah, it is. Because
that's one has the paint job. And the next one is the stands. Both of the V3 stands are just kind of awkward looking, especially like the HGIF one. It looks so noticeable just looking at it like that. I know it's supposed to hold it up, But I think this is just too much, I would say.
There are a lot of the HGIF ones or HGIF ones. They're like, they all have structural issues, so they have like these big stands to them, so they can't. None of those can stand on their own. Like if you took them out and just stood them on there, none of them can stand. I think.
Wow.
I think maybe one of them can stand, and I think that's one of the KOS-MOS one there that's coming up is the only one I think that can stand, but all the others they can't do it because they're all leaning.
Dang.
Like Momo has a leaning one and Xion has a leaning one, so like they're all leaning, so it's like they can't. Even the version 3 one is like a little like not, you know.
Yeah, I just think this is an issue with mass manufacturing. You just have these structural issues and it just hurts these figures in general. Maybe I can... Yeah, I'm just going to put this in D tier, but these aren't the most structurally sound. There are a few things I like about it that I like, but I just can't put it any higher, so... And then let's go back to the other figure made by Figuremeister. This one looks a lot better structurally sound. The only problem with it is the stand. It's just this big old glob of jelly kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They could have chose something like a better stand like the other Figuremeister figures. And like the V2 pose, I don't really get why she is holding her hand like this. It looks kind of eh.
It's weird because like with the version 2, her hand's straight forward, right? But like with the version 3, her hand is elevated. So yeah, I get that because I feel like the position of the arm is like is more off-putting than the position of the arm on version 2. So I see where that's, you know, I see where that's an issue. And sadly, it's like only one of the very few version 3, which I happen to like version 3. Yeah.
Yeah, if you know me, I don't like V3 KOS-MOS, but this figure in general is just decent. But it has a lot of issues I don't really care for. Yeah. It's a lot of the trading figures in general. They go from decent to just downright, I don't like it a lot. Like the V2 one, for instance, so...
Yeah.
Yep. Alright, so let's get to the V4 HGIF figure. Yeah, like you said, it is very awkward looking. Like, I can definitely see the chipping on the paint right here in the stand. Yeah, this is just a D tier figure in general. Poor HGIF with their mass manufacturing issues just creating these weird anomalies of how a figure should look. And I know they are doing the X-Buster thing with one of those poses, but it looks kind of off-putting. She just looks so sad in this figure too. Like KOS-MOS doesn't want to be in this form and fashion, you know?
She's like, who painted me so horribly? And all depressed about
Yeah,
it.
it's just so bad. It's just so depressing.
Yeah.
And you already talked about it a little bit, so let's go ahead and move on. Yeah. This next one, I believe, is another Namco X Capcom figure, right?
Yeah, these are the Eugene, Yuugin figures. Of Namco Girls.
Oh, Namco Girls, yeah.
Yeah. I really like them. They're really fragile though. Like it's really hard because they don't stick together well, but they're gorgeous. Like they're stunning looking. Like, but the problem is like there's so many tiny pieces. Like literally, I think there may be like 2-3 inches tall. Like it's really small, so I can see how they had problems with like the connecting pieces because it connects together, but like the hair of the head piece is like on a ball joint. There's basically a head joint, and you put the back piece on behind the ball and the front face on the front of the ball, and they snap together on the ball so that the hair is, you know, the head can move. But it doesn't stay together very well. But they're
darn. Yeah,
they're really nice looking, but they're just really like hard to keep together. They're probably some of the most difficult of all these figures. Yeah, but they're if you don't move them, they are like amazing. Like
yeah, they're really stunning looking.
Yeah,
it's a really unique pose for KOS-MOS figures in general. The only issue I have with it is the arms look really skinny. Like, they just look super skinny looking to me. Mm-hmm. The hair looks nice. The weapons look nice, though.
Yeah.
And I like how they are very poseable, too. How much does this go for?
Those are actually pretty hard to find. I know Telos, because it's been, the problem with the figures is like sometimes I'll check prices only because like I'm looking in general, but I don't seek them out if I already have them, you know. But I think last I checked was like a year ago. I know Telos was going for like 75-ish. And then these were around like 60, 40 or 60 a piece, but they're really small, so that's really pretty expensive for like capsule toys.
Oh,
yeah, that's pretty
that
pricey.
sucks.
It's like a Nendoroid pricing, but like for like really small scale capsule toys. So they're gorgeous. Like absolutely pick them up if you want them. I just think if you want them to stay together, well, you might like want to glue them or something. I don't, just because like you know, I don't want to, but I mean for stability reasons, you know. But they're great. They're just rather expensive for what they are. I think probably the more expensive stuff is our S tier, obviously our S tier stuff, and our A tier stuff. The B tier is semi-expensive depending on which one you get, but I mean generally Xeno figures aren't so much expensive as they are just hard to find. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
interesting. I don't understand that. Like I said, it's a little confusing of a concept that if it's hard to find, it's, you know, it's still inexpensive. That's the Happy Net one. So I don't really get the correlation of that. But it could just be that it's more readily available domestically and just maybe not a lot of international shippers. So that might be the reason why it's hard to find it. But I don't know. But yeah.
All right, and finally we have saved the best figures for last.
Gosh, this is like my holy grail.
Oh yeah, every freaking Xeno fan's holy grail is the Volks figures. Okay, I'm just saying. These are like what I can like. What can I say about them? These are like Xeno series statues everyone wants. They are extremely tall. They're like 1.5 feet tall for one thing.
Yeah.
And everything about it is extremely well detailed. Let's start with the stand with the steel kind of look to them. And you've got the details on the clothing too, and her hair especially, and the pose she is holding with the Gatling gun. And especially that freaking dragon tooth, which is extremely well done. How they even fit a gigantic sized weapon on this figure, I have no idea. And it's like twice as tall as the figure itself. So you would need a huge amount of space to have that dragon tooth be posed as it's supposed to.
I struggle so hard with this figure because it's like, it's so expensive. And like,
it's incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
It's like luxury stats to even own one of these.
I mean, the thing is that the presentation is very cool though, because it comes in a box that on the outside of it, it says it's from the factory that Shion and Hakase work from, like the factory, and on the outside of the box is actually printed like a factory box from that factory, and on the outside it says designed by Shion Uzuki, and they say Hakase, which is pretty funny in English, but like, the professor.
Yep.
And then it has like a model number on it and everything, like, and then the inside is the actual like box of the figure and everything. It's really, really super ultra fancy.
Yes,
cool. Like
very
I would want to
special,
save
dude.
like the
Wow.
outside of the box, but it's just like I said, Volks doesn't ship internationally, so to get this, either you have to find somebody who does have it, which the problem with that is that they don't keep the outside Shion Professor box, which is like you basically just get it in a standard box, which is sort of a bummer. Because like me personally, I'd want the whole you know presentation, but also because of the size, it's expensive to ship. But Volks won't. You have to go in person to buy these. They still have them, and they produce them every so often. Like if you go to the store there, I know they're out of stock currently. But it's just they're so big that they're just so heavy that it's just like, you know.
Yeah, you can't even ship it internationally because of how huge they are.
Yeah.
This is a garage kit, right? But it is pre-painted?
No. Yes and no. So Volks garage kits are more like, think of them as like underground or festival by individual artists. Technically it does come in a grayscale, like a garage kit. Like it can come unpainted, but there's painted and unpainted versions. But this is different because Volks they do stuff like KOS-MOS Dolphy, which isn't, we don't have the Dolphy listed here, but they do like really high quality figures. So while it comes in pieces, technically it's a scale figure. They just had to piece it out because of the size, but it's an official figure. So it's not like garage kits are more like unofficial per se, like done by individual independent artists.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But this is an actual official like scaled figure. This one and Telos are, but it's just the cost is high because it's pre-painted or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a
this is
figure
really
that's
awesome.
There's nothing better than this figure. Like there's nothing, at least for Xenosaga, there's nothing better yet than this figure. But it's also depending on how you buy
this
it.
is just Xeno figures in general. So
MSRP I think is around $550, but like if you usually it goes for around 7 or 8 with shipping and everything. So it's about $1,000 figure, give or take. That's why it's not that I don't want to pursue that. I'm obviously crazy enough to pursue that, but the problem is my goal is to preserve as much as possible. And with a high-end figure like this, it's less likely to be sold out because it's so expensive than the lower end figures that will sell out because they're less expensive. So when I started my collection, I tried to buy all the less expensive figures because those will eventually, like, people toss them or they age, or people don't keep them because they think, oh, it's cheap, so it's just easily replaceable. But some of them have gotten to the point of where they are expensive, like those Eugen ones that are $7 or $80 a piece, because people didn't preserve them because they're like, oh, these are just cheap little capsule toys. So like preservation in the sense of like cheaper stuff is harder than the more expensive stuff, which is pretty crazy. So this, I can still go online, and if I want to pay out the whatever amount, I can just go and buy it, right? But like the smaller scaled stuff are harder because it's just like so many people have run through so many copies, and whatever was made, and once they're gone, they're gone. So that's why I haven't jumped on the larger figure yet, because it's gonna be there. So
okay. Yeah, your collection is spectacular, like I keep saying, Watte. Yeah, that should be it for the tier list. I think we were pretty consistent with our rankings with the both of us. I think you would put the swimsuits in D tier, though. I don't think you talked about the V2 trading figures as much, but personally, I think those figures are not the best. The C tier figures are not good, but have some cool stuff to them. B tier is decent in general figure-wise, nothing special, but there are some special stuff about them that haven't been really talked about as much. A tier has great figures just in general, everything about them has something special to them that is desirable to a lot of people. And then S tier is just the excellently made figures that I definitely want in my collections.
Yeah,
so
mine's pretty similar to yours. I sent it to you just to show you in the Discord, but it's essentially, it's pretty much very similar. I think we know what is quality and what's not as far as figures. I mean, the thing is that's what there is, so it's like but it's pretty surprising how many figures. A lot of people tell me, I'm so shocked to know that there's that many figures for Xenosaga, like, because like Blade and the other games don't have as many, and so I don't think it's odd, because back then when the game first came out, it was very niche and it wasn't as popular. Like, to like it for some reason was like not as cool, right? And then here we come like 17 years later, and like the Xeno series is like exploded, and there's so many people who enjoy it, and I love that. But it's like a mixed feeling for me, because it's like it's like I'm really glad that it came into its own, because I didn't want it to be lost and stuff. And I think that's partly why I collect all of this stuff more than any series, and why this collection has grown so big is because I think it has a very good message, a very strong message. It doesn't get, people used to call it pretentious. I don't think that's what it is. I think that it's about relationships and lessons, and reading in between the lines, and finding value in things, and having different perspectives. There's so much to this series, and I feel like everybody can relate to it in their own way, as to where some series people can't find any connection. I can guarantee you in the Xeno series, if you take the time, even as a new person, to get into it, you're gonna find one way or another to relate to somebody, any character in the series. And I think that's what makes it so special, is that it speaks to so many people from so many different walks of life. And I think a lot of people are now ready, because I think back then Xenosaga and Xenogears were ahead of its time. And I think people have come to sort of grow into it now and understand it better. And that I'm grateful
we are
for.
glad for it. Yeah, well said, Watte. So Watte, where can we find you at?
Oh boy. So on YouTube, it's Watte, W-A-T-T-E TV. I've been on YouTube for 10 years, 11 years now. And then on Twitch, same username. And on Twitter, there is WATTE_TV. So pretty much I try to keep my name consistent across everywhere if you find me. But usually you'll find me on Twitch. YouTube is more like a figure gallery / VODs. But it just sort of varies. Fighting games and RPGs are usually what I put on the internet. But I play everything. I play so many games that like... Yeah, if you talk to me about any video game, I'm pretty sure we'll have a good conversation. So, but you can find me there, and in the all the different Xeno discords, I'll be lurking around.
Yeah, I will be lurking around Xeno discords too, and definitely check out Watte's Discord server, which I will have in the description of this video too. This is mainly where Watte shows off his content and stuff, and we chat there once or twice sometimes, though it has been extremely quiet lately. But we definitely would welcome new members too, so definitely check out his Discord server on top of that. Anyways guys, I hope you really enjoy this video, and definitely check out my other Xeno series content, including a Xeno series figure discussion that I'm doing with Watte, along with other content that I will be posting for the rest of the year and into 2024. Then, till next time everybody, see you on the other side!